I studied over 1,000 sports bets, and I kept seeing the same losing pattern. It wasn't just bad picks or Hail Mary parlays. Though let's be honest, those didn't exactly help either. It was something more subtle, like a slow leak in your bankroll you don't notice until your account balance is gasping for air. So if you've been tweaking your system, triple-checking trends, blaming the refs, and still wondering why you keep getting smoked, you're in the right place. Because in this video, I'm breaking down the hidden habits that kill most bettors and the mindset shift that turns sports betting into sustainable profit. So starting strong, this is one of the most important mindset shifts you can make. And it's what 99% of sports bettors overlook. Here's what I mean. Picture someone diving into the stock market with zero plan, picking random stocks because this one's gonna moon, tossing half their savings into some Bitcoin scam they heard about on Reddit, and then acting shocked when it tanks overnight. Give it a few weeks, and that person's for sure gonna lose all their money. And that's exactly how most people bet on sports. If you don't treat betting like a game with no consequences, you're going to lose. There's no way around this. So here's what the pros do instead. They treat every bet like a trade, they look for value in the market, and they think in decades, not the big game on the weekend. So if you're starting from scratch, here's what you need to do. Set a bankroll, define your unit size, and only bet when there's actual value. Not because some fake guru said that his cousin played high school ball with the backup point guard and he's locked in for the game. So if you're done chasing picks from self-proclaimed experts yelling about bangers, I built a private group that actually does things differently, and it's completely free to join for now. We focus on discipline and math. Plus, you'll get real insights, smarter strategies, and a community that actually wants to win long term. So if you want to join, click the link in the description below. But remember, being in the right circle or betting with value doesn't mean every bet will hit. Because have you ever gotten that feeling? You know, your gut's pounding the table and you're 100% convinced this pick can't lose. And then you're hit with a cold splash of reality. Another sure thing turns into another L. Well, it all comes down to this one concept. Let me explain. Say there's one team that's absolute garbage, but somehow they keep winning. Like they're dead last in scoring, their QB throws ducks, and their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. On paper, they should be 1-6, but for some reason, they're 6-1. First game, the opponent fumbles on the 1-yard line with 10 seconds left. Next week, they win on a double doink field goal that somehow bounces in. In every game, there is one miracle that saves them. And so the media starts hyping them, and the bettors all jump on. But one week, it stops. QB throws 3 picks with 0 lucky bounces and missed kicks. The final score is 38-3. And just like that, the heater's over. So is the hype. This idea is known as variance, which is the randomness baked into short-term results. You could be doing everything right and still hit an epic losing streak that messes with your head. Which brings us to this next point. And this reminds me of a roommate I had who found a betting system online. He turned $100 into $300 in 3 days and thought he was the next Elon Musk. He was so confident he went on to bet the entire $300 on a UFC fight, and his guy got knocked out in 40 seconds. So, the next morning he retired from betting. And it just goes to show that 1. Losing streaks are inevitable, and 2. If you're betting too much per play, your entire bankroll can get wiped out. That's why pros use units. They'll risk 1 to 2% of their total bankroll per bet max. Because the goal with sports betting is to stay alive long enough so that your bankroll can snowball into something bigger. But that's only half the equation, because you also need to track your bets. I know, spreadsheets aren't sexy, but if you're not doing it, you won't have any clue what's working and what's bleeding you dry. Lucky for you, you don't need to start from scratch, because I built a bet tracker that logs every unit and spots trends. So if you want to check it out, I'll drop the link in the description below. So now you might be wondering, what's the next move? Well, let me tell you. Imagine starting a road trip with no map, no GPS, and no idea where you're going. You might get lucky and end up somewhere decent, but most likely you'll waste time, gas, and money driving in circles. It's the same with sports betting. If you don't have a clear strategy, you're just guessing. And listening to a guy on TikTok shouting, "max unit banger," isn't a strategy either. Because these so-called experts aren't selling winning bets, they're selling hype. They win a parlay once and suddenly they're God's gift to gambling. But they don't show you the 19 losses that came before. So if you're copying their picks blindly, you're donating to 2 different people. Not only are you paying for the bookie's new vacation home, but you're also funding Lock Daddy 69's gambling addiction. That's why you've got to stay away from viral picks and focus on building a clear system that not only gives you an advantage, but also protects you when things go sideways. Because let's face it, things will go sideways. It doesn't matter how sharp your picks are, you can still lose everything. Let me show you an example. So back in 1995, a trader named Nick Leeson was working at Barings Bank, one of the oldest banks in England. He started making risky bets in the derivatives market, and when they didn't go his way, he didn't cut losses. Instead, he doubled down, then doubled again. Sounds familiar, right? This is the degen martingale strategy that LockDaddy69 preaches about on his Twitter. But Nick Leeson was hiding the losses in a secret account, thinking one big win would fix everything. It didn't. The trade spiraled out of control, and by the time anyone noticed, he'd racked up $1.3 billion in losses, enough to bankrupt the entire bank. All because he thought confidence could beat risk. And this false confidence is exactly why most sports bettors go broke. Real traders don't go all in on a hunch. They risk 1 to 2% per trade. And the same goes for sharp bettors. They don't double down or chase after losses, because that's not strategy, that's emotion. Instead, they stick to the plan and let the edge do the work. Because small, smart bets over and over are how you compound positive expected value. Now you might be thinking, this sounds like a lot of work, and way too slow if you're trying to make real money, right? Well, look at Warren Buffett. He didn't get rich by investing max unit nukes. He got rich by compounding small gains for decades. And the same rule applies here. You're stacking 3 to 5% edges, bet after bet, month after month. It doesn't feel exciting in the short term, but the results are ridiculous over time. So, let's say you start with a $5,000 bankroll. You stick to 1% bet size, take 5 bets per day, and only take bets with at least 3% edge. Here's how the math plays out year by year. After a year, you've made $3,000. And after 6 years, you're finally able to hit the $10,000 milestone. By the 10-year mark, you're sitting at over $1 million. Of course, real life gets in the way. You might pull money out, add more in, or hit betting limits. But the small edges, stacked daily, add up fast, which is exactly how sharp bettors grow real bankrolls over time. Now, if you want to see what it actually looks like to go from casual bettor to top 1%, I broke it all down in this next video. And honestly, it's as simple as doing a few things most bettors ignore. So click this video to start watching.